I went to check on the house after my mother's funeral, and there sat my displeased mother-in-law. What are you doing here? I live here now. My son allowed it. How lucky that your mother kicked the bucket. After hearing that, nothing could stop me. I tore into her like a dog on a bone. Before we start, I ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you and enjoy listening. The phone rang at the worst possible moment. Gloria was just finishing designing a shopping center for an important client. The screen lit up with the name Aunt Amelia, the neighbor of her late mother. Strange. The elderly woman usually didn't call without a good reason. Gloria, darling, Aunt Amelia's voice trembled with anxiety. You won't believe what's happening at your mother's house. Some woman is running around, rearranging furniture, digging in the garden. Gloria's heart skipped a beat. Her mother had passed away only 2 weeks ago, leaving the country house to her only daughter. Everything was properly documented, and the notary had personally certified the inheritance. What woman? Describe her. A plump one, about 60, wearing a red sweater. Yesterday a truck came, unloading some things, and today there's even a man with her, not young. A chill ran down Gloria's spine. A plump woman in a red sweater, an exact description of Carolina, her mother-in-law. But how could she be in the house? She didn't have the keys. Aunt Amelia, I'm coming right now. Don't let anyone into the house, no matter what. Dropping her unfinished project, Gloria grabbed her bag and car keys. It took an hour and a half to reach the village, but she made the trip in an hour and 20 minutes, speeding the whole way. Worrying thoughts swirled in her head. Her mother-in-law had always been brazen, but to occupy someone else's house on her own? The village greeted Gloria with autumnal silence. Birch leaves rustled under the wheels, and the air smelled of damp grass and smoke from chimneys. Her mother's house stood at the end of the street, surrounded by a tall corrugated metal fence. The first thing that caught her eye was the new lock on the gate. Gloria pulled out her keyring and tried to open it. The key didn't fit. She tried another, then another, useless. The lock had definitely been changed. Voices carried over the fence. A female voice, disgustingly familiar, her mother-in-law, and a male voice Gloria didn't recognize. They were discussing where to place the TV in the living room. She had to ring the intercom. Long beeps, then footsteps, and a click of the lock. Finally, Carolina appeared in the gate, holding a watering can. We were starting to think you'd never show up, she said. Gloria was stunned by the audacity. Her mother-in-law spoke as if this was her territory and Gloria was an uninvited guest. What are you doing here? And why did you change the lock? What else should I do? Carolina set the watering can on the ground and crossed her arms. The house was empty, so I cleaned it up, put it in order. Frank gave me the keys, said I could stay. Frank gave her the keys? Gloria felt her blood boil. To the house that legally belongs to me according to the will? Oh, come on, her mother-in-law waved her hand. We're family, and the house is big. There's room for everyone. At that moment, an unfamiliar man in his 50s, wearing a work jumpsuit and a worn cap, came out of the house. Carolina, who's this? He looked at Gloria appraisingly. This is my daughter-in-law, Gloria. And this is my brother, Jack. He and Maggie are living here now. Their apartment in the city got flooded, so they had to move. Gloria couldn't believe her ears. Not only had her mother-in-law illegally occupied the house, but she had also moved in her relatives. Where did my mother leave the documents? Where are her things? What documents? Carolina raised her eyebrows in surprise. We just did a little cleaning. Threw out some junk. What use is it? What junk? Gloria's voice grew dangerously quiet. Old dusty books, old clothes. Jack took them to the dump. Why let good stuff go to waste? Jack shuffled his feet awkwardly. Carolina said it was all useless. We didn't know. Gloria felt the ground slip from under her feet. Her mother's books, her favorite dresses, family photographs, all could have ended up in the trash. You had no right to throw anything away. This is my house, my inheritance. Why are you getting so nervous? Carolina clearly didn't understand the seriousness of the situation. The house isn't going anywhere, and we're just making it better. Jack is handy. He can fix the roof and paint the fence. I didn't ask for anything to be fixed or painted. And I didn't give you permission to live here. Don't get so worked up. Frank approved everything. Call him and ask. Gloria took out her phone and dialed her husband's number. Long rings, then a sleepy voice. Hello, what's wrong? Frank, your mother has taken over my mother's house. She says you gave her the keys. Pause. Too long a pause. Well, she asked to stay a little while. They have housing problems. You gave her the keys to my house without my consent? Katia, don't make a scene. It's only temporary. Gloria hung up. Her hands were trembling with rage. Her husband had indeed given her mother-in-law the keys without even asking her permission. Well, convinced now? Carolina smiled smugly. Now let's go inside. I'll show you how we've set everything up. Walking along the path to the porch, Gloria saw the results of the uninvited residents' handiwork. Her mother's beloved roses had been cut down to the roots, replaced with currant bushes. The old apple tree, under which her childhood playhouse once stood, had been chopped down. Why did you cut down the trees? They were old anyway, useless. Her mother-in-law waved her hand dismissively. Jack says it's better to plant fruit trees, more practical. Inside, the house was unrecognizable. Her mother's furniture was gone. In its place were cheap plastic tables and chairs. The walls had been painted a garish green. Where's my mother's furniture? Sold it, Carolina replied matter-of-factly. It was old, took up space, and the money went into repairs. You sold my mother's furniture? Well, why keep it? No one needs it. Antique, they say, but who needs that in the village? On the living room sofa sat a plump woman, about 40, watching TV and cracking sunflower seeds, letting the shells fall onto the floor. Maggie, meet Gloria. She's Carolina's daughter-in-law, her mother-in-law introduced her. Maggie lazily nodded without taking her eyes off the screen. And who are you? Gloria asked. Jack's wife. What's it to you? Nothing. Just curious how many more people decided to move into my house. Maggie finally turned her head. Yours? Carolina said it's a shared house now. Gloria went outside to avoid saying too much. She needed to act through the law. She dialed the legal consultation where she had previously arranged her inheritance documents. Hello, this is Gloria Torres. I have a problem with my inheritance. The lawyer listened and gave a discouraging answer. The unauthorized residents could only be evicted through the court, which would take several months. Meanwhile, they had the right to stay if one of the spouses consented. But the house was willed to me personally, not to my husband and me. That doesn't matter. If the marriage is registered, the property is considered jointly owned. Your husband technically had the right to give consent. Gloria felt cornered. It turned out her mother-in-law was acting within the law. Aunt Amelia was waiting for her by her fence. Well, darling? What is that woman doing there? Living. And planning to keep living. What are you saying? And you? This is your house. Legally, my husband had the right to give consent for them to move in. Aunt Amelia shook her head. You know, she's acting like she owns the place. Yesterday she told me she's in charge now and that I should come to her with any questions. And the day before, I saw her negotiating with some man at the gate. He came by car. They were unloading something. What were they unloading? Some old furniture, really beautiful. Gloria's heart skipped a beat. So her mother-in-law hadn't just thrown away her mother's things, she had sold them. Aunt Amelia, do you happen to know the buyer's number? No, darling. But the truck had a license plate from our region. A white truck. Gloria thanked her neighbor and returned to the house. She needed to find out exactly what Carolina had sold and whether it could be recovered. Her mother-in-law was sitting on the porch, peeling potatoes. Listen, Aunt Amelia says you sold the furniture to some buyer? Well, yes, I sold it. So what's the problem? You had no right to sell someone else's belongings. Whose belongings? The house is shared now, so the things are shared too. The house isn't shared. It was willed to me. Oh, come on, Carolina waved her hand. We're family. What's yours is ours. What exactly did you sell? Just some old junk. An old dresser, some carved wardrobe, chairs for a good price. By the way, $500 they gave. Gloria felt a chill. Her mother's antique furniture set was worth far more. Her mother-in-law had sold it cheaply. Who did you sell it to? Give me the buyer's contact. Why do you need it? The money's already spent on repairs. Give me the contact. Carolina reluctantly pulled out a crumpled notebook. Here. Kevin Wright. Antique dealer. Gloria wrote down the phone number. She needed to contact Kevin immediately and try to buy her mother's things back. But first, she should talk to the neighbors, maybe someone had seen more. The neighbors on the right, the Rogers family, greeted Gloria sympathetically. We knew right away something was wrong, said Rose Rogers, a middle-aged woman in an apron. Your mother was so refined, quiet, and this one has been creating scandals from day one, playing loud music. What else did you see? The day before yesterday, some men came in a truck, loading things, beautiful, antique stuff. It was painful to watch. And yesterday she went to the store, bragging about the money she got for the things. Well, she said, finally got rid of the junk. The neighbors on the left, elderly Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, shared even more unpleasant details. She told us she's the lady of the house now, Grandpa Stephen protested. And that we should remember it. Otherwise, she said, there could be problems. What kind of problems? Who knows, but the tone was threatening. It became clear that Carolina hadn't just taken over the house, she was acting like a real occupier. Gloria returned to the house. She had to try to at least recover her mother's documents and personal belongings. Carolina, where are my mother's documents? Passport, certificate? Why do you need them? She's gone. I need those documents. We threw them away. Why keep them? Threw them away? Well, what were we supposed to do with them? Jack took everything to the dump. Gloria felt a wave of rage rising inside her. Her mother's documents, photographs, letters, all had been irretrievably lost. And personal items? Clothes, jewelry? Threw the clothes away, old stuff. No jewelry anyway. Gloria knew this wasn't true. Her mother had gold earrings, a gift from her father, and a chain with a cross. Where's my mother's jewelry? There's no jewelry. Maybe she hid it somewhere herself. But the gleam in her mother-in-law's eyes said otherwise. By evening, Gloria had pieced together the full picture of what had happened. Carolina hadn't just taken over the house, she had methodically destroyed everything that reminded anyone of the previous owner. She sold the furniture, threw away documents and photographs, and took the jewelry for herself. Moreover, she had already announced to the neighbors her claim to the house and had even begun intimidating them. Gloria didn't want to go home. A serious conversation with Frank awaited, and she knew he would make excuses and try to shift the blame onto her. But first, she needed to contact the antique dealer Kevin. Maybe it would be possible to recover at least her mother's belongings. Kevin turned out to be a pleasant middle-aged man. Yes, I bought furniture from a woman in the village, he confirmed. The set was indeed worth much more than I paid, but the seller insisted she was in a hurry. You see, the furniture has already been resold. I have regular clients. But if you can prove ownership, I'm willing to help find a buyer. This was the first ray of hope all day. So, not all was lost. On the way back to the city, Gloria was thinking through her plan of action. She needed to document everything that had happened, photograph the changes in the house, find witnesses to the furniture sale, collect statements from neighbors, and most importantly, talk to her husband. Frank needed to be held accountable for his actions. At home, an unpleasant surprise awaited her. On the kitchen table lay a note from her husband. I went to my mom's country house. We'll talk tomorrow. So, the coward had run off to mommy to avoid hearing justified complaints. Gloria sat down at the computer and began preparing a detailed report of the events. Every fact, every testimony, everything would be useful in the ongoing struggle. She understood that a serious battle lay ahead. Carolina had shown her audacity and greed, and Frank had shown his weakness and irresponsibility. But Gloria wasn't used to giving up. Her mother had taught her to be strong, and now that strength would be needed more than ever. Tomorrow, the real fight would begin, over the house, the memory of her mother, and justice itself. And Gloria was ready for that fight. In the morning, Gloria woke up with a clear plan of action. First, she needed to meet with the antique dealer Kevin and get the full picture of her mother's furniture sale. Frank still hadn't returned home, which only strengthened her resolve to act independently. Kevin agreed to meet at his shop. The small space was filled with antique furniture, paintings, and figurines. In the corner, Gloriette immediately recognized her mother's redwood secretary desk. That secretary was definitely in our house, she exclaimed. Mom kept important papers in it. Kevin studied Gloria carefully, assessing the sincerity of her words. The woman who sold the furniture said it was an inheritance from a distant relative. She was in a big hurry and accepted the first price offered. How much did you pay? $2,000 for the whole set. And the real value is about 3 times that? Gloria took out the inheritance documents. Could you testify that the furniture was sold without the owner's consent? Kevin examined the papers closely. Of course. But there's a problem. The secretary has already been resold to a collector. The other items are still here. For how much can I buy back what remains? For the same amount I paid, plus a small storage fee. Gloria agreed. The money was significant, but her mother's belongings were worth it. While the buyback documents were being processed, Kevin shared some interesting details. You know, this woman seemed strange to me. She knew nothing about antiques, called redwood pine, and kept looking around as if afraid someone would see her. She didn't come alone, she had a middle-aged man with her. Quiet, always on his phone. They loaded the furniture in a rush, without proper packing. That was Jack, her mother-in-law's brother. So, he had been an accomplice in the theft. From the antique dealer, Gloria went straight to lawyer Harry Morris, who had handled her inheritance. The elderly man with a gray beard greeted her with a worried look. Gloria, I'm glad you came. We have serious problems. What kind of problems? Yesterday, a certain Carolina came to see us. She filed a petition to contest your mother's will. Gloria's heart sank. So her mother-in-law had decided to act not just with force, but through the law as well. On what grounds? She claims that your mother was incompetent at the time the will was made. She's attaching certificates stating that the deceased suffered from senile dementia. That's not true. Mom was of sound mind until the very end. Harry pulled copies of the medical certificates from his folder. See for yourself. It says here that Lily Torres received treatment at a psychoneurological clinic. Gloria examined the documents. The doctor's signatures, the stamps, it all looked authentic. But she knew for certain that her mother had never visited a psychiatrist. This is a forgery. Mom was never in a psych clinic. These certificates did seem suspicious to me as well, the lawyer nodded. Too convenient that they appeared now. I've already sent a request to the clinic to verify their authenticity. How long will the verification take? At least 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the court may place a freeze on the disputed property, meaning the house. That meant no one could sell it or make significant changes until a ruling was issued. That was good news. Her mother-in-law wouldn't be able to sell the house as she had the furniture. Harry, can we find out where she got these certificates? I'll try. I have contacts in law enforcement. Forging medical documents is a serious crime. Gloria felt a sense of relief. Finally, she had an ally in the experienced lawyer. And what about the unauthorized move-in? That's more complicated. Technically, your husband had the right to give consent. But if we prove the certificates are forged, his actions could be challenged as an abuse of rights. From the lawyer, Gloria went to notary Helen White, who had certified her mother's will. The elegant woman, around 50, welcomed her in an office furnished with expensive furniture. I remember your mother. A very intelligent woman who fully understood the essence of the will. Could she have been incompetent at the time of signing? Impossible. Lily answered all questions clearly, showing complete awareness. I even asked her to repeat the contents of the will to ensure she understood. Can you provide a written statement? Of course. Moreover, we have a video recording of the certification procedure. We always document the signing of important documents. That was a trump card. The video would clearly show that her mother was of sound mind. Helen, did Carolina contact you? She came 2 days ago. She asked about the process of contesting a will. I explained how complicated it is, but she was very persistent. What exactly was she asking? Mostly, what documents are required to declare a testator incompetent? I suspected something was wrong and refused to advise further. It turned out her mother-in-law had been planning to contest the will in advance. The takeover of the house was only part of a larger scheme. That evening, Gloria decided to confront Frank. He had finally shown up at home, but he acted like a cornered animal. Mom says, you caused a scene with the antique dealer. I bought back the stolen items with my own money. Nothing was stolen. Mom had the right to sell the old furniture. Your mom had no rights to my mother's inheritance. Frank paced nervously, avoiding her gaze. Listen, maybe we shouldn't blow this into a conflict? The house is big enough for everyone. You're seriously suggesting I live under the same roof as your mother? What's wrong with that? Many families do. Gloria realized her husband had fully sided with his mother. Frank, do you understand that your mother forged medical certificates? What? He finally looked at her. What are you talking about? She filed court documents claiming my mother was mentally ill. Fake documents. Frank's face went pale. That can't be. The lawyer is checking the certificates. If they are forged, your mother will go to prison. Mom couldn't. She wouldn't. Your mother is capable of anything for money. You know that very well. Frank sank into the chair, covering his face with his hands. What do we do now? We go to your mother and demand that she withdraw the court petition. She won't agree. Then she'll face the consequences under the law. The next day, they drove together. On the way, Frank tried to find excuses for his mother. Maybe she truly thinks she's doing the right thing? The right thing? Seizing someone else's house, selling someone else's belongings, forging documents? But she wouldn't forge. You'll see. Carolina met them on the porch with a displeased expression. A man in an expensive suit stood beside her. And who's this? Gloria asked. Attorney Patrick Cooper will represent my interests in court. Patrick turned out to be an unpleasant type, with slick hair and bold eyes. He immediately took the initiative. Carolina is acting within the law. The will was drafted by an incompetent person and should be annulled. On what grounds do you consider my mother incompetent? We have medical certificates. Fake certificates. That remains to be proven. Gloria pulled a copy of the notary's video recording from her bag. This proves my mother was fully competent when the will was made. The lawyer's expression changed. He clearly hadn't expected this turn of events. Any recording can be fabricated. An official recording from the notary. Are you suggesting we accuse the notary of forgery? Patrick exchanged a glance with Carolina. It was clear they hadn't anticipated serious resistance. Frank, tell your mother to withdraw the court petition. Mom, maybe we really shouldn't. Shut up. Carolina snapped sharply. Are you a man or a coward? But if the certificates are forged, the certificates are real. His mother yelled, then immediately faltered. Where did you get certificates from a psych clinic if Mom was never there? Gloria asked. How do you know where she was? Maybe she hid her illness from you? Do you have documents confirming hospitalization? Carolina hesitated. The lawyer quickly intervened. We are not obligated to report to you. You are, when it concerns forged documents. At that moment, Jack came out of the house carrying a bag of tools. Carolina, I patched the roof. What should we do next, Jack? Gloria asked. You helped sell my mother's furniture. So what? Carolina said it's hers now. Carolina lied. That was theft. Jack looked confusedly at his sister. Carolina, you said. I told the truth. His mother snapped. The house is now shared, a family home. The house was bequeathed to me personally. It is not a family home. The lawyer decided to end the unpleasant conversation. Carolina, we need to leave. We have court appointments. Which court are you going to? Gloria asked. That's none of your business. It is mine, since I am the defendant in the case. Patrick clearly didn't want to give information, but he had no choice. Court. Judge Price. Gloria knew this judge, an honorable man who did not tolerate lies or forgery. Inform Judge Price that I have the video recording of the will's execution and the results of the medical certificate examination. What examination? The lawyer asked nervously. The one that will prove your documents are forged. Carolina turned pale. It was clear that the certificates were indeed fake. Mom, maybe that's enough? Frank said quietly. Shut up. His mother yelled at him. Don't you dare speak to my husband that way. And who are you to tell me what to do? He's my son. He is my husband. And if you don't leave my house voluntarily, I will file a police report against you. For what? For unauthorized occupation, theft, and document forgery. The lawyer realized that the situation was getting out of control. Carolina, we really need to go. They left, but Gloria understood that this was not the end, just the beginning of a serious battle. Frank, your mother won't stop. I'll talk to her. You've been talking to her for 5 years. It hasn't done any good. Frank remained silently guilty. The next day, Harry, the lawyer, reported the results of the document verification. As expected, the documents turned out to be fake. There was never a patient named Lily Torres at the psychiatric clinic. Now we can file a fraud complaint, said Harry. File it. Let her face the law. But keep in mind, this could lead to a criminal case against your mother-in-law. I don't care. Harry submitted the complaint to the prosecutor's office. An investigation into the document forgery began. Gloria decided to try one last peaceful approach to resolve the conflict. She invited her mother-in-law to meet in a neutral place, a cafe in the city center. Carolina arrived accompanied by her lawyer. Carolina, I'm proposing a peaceful resolution. You vacate the house, and I won't sue you for theft and document forgery. I haven't stolen anything. Selling someone else's furniture is theft. The furniture was shared. Shared by what right? Her mother-in-law couldn't answer. Do you realize that forging medical certificates can lead to real jail time? I haven't forged anything. Then explain where you got certificates from a clinic where my mother was never admitted. Carolina blushed but remained stubborn. Maybe she was hiding her illnesses from you? Are you ready to repeat that under oath in court? I am. The lawyer tried to calm his client down. Carolina, maybe we should discuss a compromise? No compromises. The house should belong to the family, not some stranger. I'm not a stranger. I'm the daughter of the person who bequeathed me this house. The will is invalid. That's for the court to decide. The meeting yielded no results. Carolina was determined to fight to the end. That evening, Gloria received a call from her Aunt Amelia. Sweetie, you won't believe it. That woman brought more people. Now there are about 8 of them living there. What people? Just her whole crew. She says, the house is big, there's room for everyone. It was another blow. Her mother-in-law wasn't just holding onto the house, she was turning it into a commune. And what do the neighbors say? What can they say? They're scared. Carolina intimidated everyone, claiming she's the owner now. Gloria realized that peaceful methods were exhausted. Her mother-in-law had declared war, and it was time to respond appropriately. The next morning, she called a locksmith and drove to the village. It was time to change the locks on her own house. At the gate, she was met by an unfamiliar young man of about 20. What do you want? I need to get into my house. Which one's yours? Grandma Carolina lives here. Grandma Carolina seized someone else's house, and I'm the rightful owner. The young man looked skeptically at the documents. I don't know anything. Grandma Carolina told me to guard it. Do you realize you're participating in a crime? What crime? Taking someone else's property. The young man hesitated. At that moment, Carolina appeared. Stephen, don't listen to her. She's pretending to have rights, but she has none. Carolina, this is the last time I'm asking you to leave the house voluntarily. Or what? Or I'll call the police and the local officer. Let them deal with it. Call them. I'm not doing anything illegal. Gloria took out her phone and dialed the police. 20 minutes later, Officer Captain Evans arrived. What's the problem? Gloria showed the inheritance documents. These people have unlawfully taken over my house. Carolina presented her certificates. I am this woman's mother-in-law. Her son gave me permission to live in the house. The officer examined the documents carefully. You see, this is a civil dispute. We can only make a report. Make the report. The report recorded the fact of the ownership dispute. This would be important for the court. After the officer left, Gloria realized that legal methods would work too slowly, while the house was turning into a den of chaos. She needed to act decisively and firmly. She called the locksmith and announced that she would change the locks immediately. You have no right. Carolina shrieked. I do. This is my house. I'll call the police. Go ahead. The locksmith quickly changed the gate lock. Now access to the property was possible only with her permission. And what about my things in the house? Her mother-in-law fretted. You'll get them back when you vacate the house. I'm not going anywhere. Then you'll be left without your things. Carolina realized the seriousness of the threat. She called Frank, demanding that he come immediately. Her husband arrived an hour later, both furious and confused. Mika, what are you doing? Mom can't be left on the street. Let her go to her own home. She has problems with her apartment. That's not my problem. But we're family. What family? You gave the keys to my house without my consent. I thought you wouldn't mind. You didn't think. You just chickened out in front of Mommy. Frank tried to take a firm tone. If you don't open the gate, I'll break it myself. Try it. That's damaging someone else's property. Someone else's? I'm your husband. A husband who betrayed his wife. Frank froze, stunned by the force of her words. I didn't betray you. You did. At the hardest moment for me, Carolina couldn't contain herself and rushed to the gate, trying to force it open. Open it immediately. My things are in there. Your things will be thrown in the trash if you don't get out of the house. You wouldn't dare. I would. How dare you throw out my mother's things? Her mother-in-law realized that the jokes were over. In Gloria's eyes was a cold determination that was better not to challenge. Fine, she ground through her teeth. I'll take my things and leave. But this isn't over. Over, Carolina. If you show up near my house again, I'll file a harassment complaint. Gloria opened the gate and made sure all the uninvited residents packed their belongings. Jack and his wife left first, not wanting trouble. The young security boy turned out to be Carolina's nephew. He also disappeared quickly, sensing trouble. An hour later, the house was cleared, but Gloria knew this was only a temporary victory. Her mother-in-law would not forgive humiliation. She would surely try to take revenge. And the biggest problem, what to do about Frank. Her husband had finally shown his failure as a man and a partner. Difficult decisions lay ahead, but one thing Gloria knew for sure, no one would ever dare lay claim to her house, her mother's memory, or her rights again. The war was only beginning. A week passed in tense anticipation. Lawyer Harry confirmed that the complaint to the prosecutor's office had been accepted. The medical certificates were officially recognized as fake. Carolina could face up to 3 years in prison for fraud, but her mother-in-law was not giving up. Aunt Amelia reported that a suspicious car was constantly circling near the house. And yesterday, someone had tried to climb over the fence, but the neighbor's guard dog raised the alarm. Frank looked darker than a storm cloud. Attempts to talk to his mother led nowhere. Carolina demanded a choice from her son, either her or his wife. No compromises were offered. Mom says, if I don't get the keys back, she'll disinherit me. What inheritance? She only has debts. There's also Grandma's apartment downtown. Are you willing to betray your wife for an apartment? Frank remained painfully silent. On Saturday morning, Gloria decided to finally take control of the situation. This war had gone on for too long. It was time to put a definitive end to it. She went alone. Frank refused to come, claiming he felt unwell. A coward to the core, Gloria thought. The house looked abandoned, the grass in the garden reached her knees, and the windows were shuttered. But at the gate, Carolina's familiar car was parked. Gloria opened the gate with her key and walked toward the house. On the porch sat her mother-in-law, in the same red cardigan, smoking and flipping through a magazine. At the sight of Gloria, Carolina's face twisted with hatred. What are you doing here? I live here now. My son gave me permission. How nice that your mother is gone. After these words, Gloria could no longer be stopped. A red haze clouded her vision. All the humiliation accumulated over the past weeks, the pain of losing her mother, the betrayal of her husband, everything merged into a wave of rage. She lunged at her mother-in-law. Carolina hadn't expected such aggression. Used to everyone tolerating her audacity, she froze at the sudden onslaught. Gloria grabbed her by the cardigan and yanked her off the porch. The full-bodied woman fell into a raspberry bush, trying to keep her balance. How dare you speak about my mother that way, you wretch? Carolina tried to get up, but Gloria shoved her back down. I'm the owner here. Frank gave me permission. Frank couldn't give permission. This is my house. Gloria grabbed her mother-in-law by the collar and dragged her to the gate. Carolina struggled, clutching the fence, but the strength was unequal. Let me go. I'll call the police. Go ahead. Tell them how you seized someone else's house. At the gate, Gloria shoved her sharply. Carolina fell to her knees, ripping her tights. Get up and leave. And don't let me see your face here again. My things are in the house. What things? What you stole. Gloria went into the house and pulled out Carolina's battered suitcase. She threw it straight into the dirt. Take your junk and get out of here. Her mother-in-law rose from her knees, brushing herself off and muttering under her breath. Her face burned with humiliation. You'll regret this. I'll tell Frank everything. Go ahead. Maybe he'll act like a man for once in his life. He'll choose me. I'm his mother, and I'm his wife and the owner of this house. Carolina grabbed the suitcase and went to the car. At the gate, she turned back. You think you've won? This isn't over. For you, it's over. If I see you here again, I'll call the police. And what will you tell them? That you caught a thief red-handed? Her mother-in-law slammed the car door and drove off, leaving a cloud of dust and exhaust behind. Gloria entered the house and inspected the rooms. Carolina had brought in a lot of junk, old clothes, broken appliances, dirty dishes. All of it needed to be removed. But first, the locks had to be changed. Who knew how many copies of the keys her mother-in-law had made? The locksmith arrived an hour later. While he worked, Gloria methodically cleared out all the trash left by the uninvited residents. In one of the rooms, she found a real dump, empty bottles, food scraps, leftovers. Jack and his wife had clearly lived like pigs. In the closet, Gloria found her mother's photographs, which she had thought were lost forever. Carolina had hidden them, likely planning to use them for blackmail. Among the papers were some strange documents. On closer inspection, Gloria realized they were copies of her mother's mental health certificates, fake certificates her mother-in-law had tried to use in court. An even more interesting find was in the bedside table, an address book with phone numbers and addresses. Among the entries was a Dr. Parker from a private clinic. Next to the name was a note, 5,000. Clearly, Carolina had bought fake medical documents. Now Gloria had proof not only of forgery but also of corruption. By evening, the house was in order. New locks were installed on all doors. Gloria spent the night in the house, enjoying the silence and peace. In the morning, a phone call woke her. It was an enraged Frank. What are you doing? Mom said you beat her. Your mother is lying. I didn't beat her, I just threw her out of the house. She has bruises. She fell into the bushes herself. Out of surprise. Gloria, that's your mother. How could you lay a hand on her? Easily. After she spoke about my mother. What did she say? Ask her, if you have the courage to repeat it. Frank hesitated. In any case, you had no right to throw her out. I did. This is my house. Our house. Mine by inheritance. We're married, still married, but not for long if you keep this up. The threat of divorce worked. Frank immediately softened his tone. Mika, let's not argue. Come home, we'll discuss everything. You come. If you can tear yourself away from Mommy's skirt. She hung up and got to work around the house. The garden needed to be restored after Jack's chaos. Frank arrived only in the evening, looking rumpled and guilty. Mom's in the hospital. Her blood pressure spiked. I sympathize. Maybe now she'll understand that taking what isn't hers is wrong. Mika, she's an old woman. Old, yes, but arrogant and greedy. So how are you? How? Like a person who's been robbed and insulted. Frank sat at the kitchen table, resting his head in his hands. What now? Mom says she won't forgive you. I don't need her forgiveness. I need your decision. What decision? I choose either me or her. Gloria, don't put me in this position. No, I am putting you in it. Your mother did, when she seized my house. She thought she was doing the right thing. She thought she could intimidate me. She was wrong. Frank lifted his head. Tears filled his eyes. I don't want to choose between you two. Then I'll choose for you. Pack your things. Where? To Mommy's. Maybe she'll take you in. Mika, forgive me. I didn't think it would turn out like this. You didn't think at all. You just handed her the keys like an obedient little son. Mom said she has problems with her apartment. Your mother has problems with her mind. And so do you. Frank knelt right there in the kitchen. Forgive me. I will never. Never what? Never give her the keys. Never allow her to interfere in our affairs. And if she demands again, I'll refuse. And if she tries to blackmail with inheritance, I don't care about inheritance. Gloria studied her husband carefully. He truly looked repentant. But could she trust him? Stand up. You look pathetic. Frank rose, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. Will you forgive me? Forgiveness must be earned. How? First, no more contact with your mother without my permission. Okay. Second, if she tries to seize the house again, you will be on my side. Absolutely. Third, no decisions about my property without my consent. Of course. And lastly, if you betray me again, I will file for divorce. No arguments. Frank nodded like an obedient dog. Got it. Never again. Gloria felt no joy at this capitulation. Her husband had broken too easily, revealing his weakness. Now call your mother and tell her you choose me. Make sure to say it. Say it in front of me. Frank dialed with trembling hands. Mom, it's me. Listen, I've made a decision. No, Mom, I can't. Mika is my wife. Mom, don't yell. I choose my family. Forgive me. He hung up and looked at Gloria with pleading eyes. Satisfied? She's very upset. Let her get used to it. Now you have only one woman in your life. I've always had only you. Lie more. You had Mommy, and you let her have her way with everything. Frank lowered his head in guilt. In the following days, life took on a new rhythm. Frank tiptoed around, afraid to speak unnecessarily. Carolina didn't call, but Gloria knew this was the calm before the storm. A week later, lawyer Harry reported that the prosecutor's office had opened a criminal case for document forgery. Carolina was summoned for questioning. She could get a suspended sentence if she admits guilt, but if she doesn't, then a real prison term. There's enough evidence. Gloria felt a grim satisfaction. Justice had prevailed. But the next day, an unpleasant event occurred. Someone scratched her car, parked in the yard. Deep scratches ran across the entire body. Frank was on a business trip, so the suspect was likely her mother-in-law or her minions. Gloria filed a police report, but the local officer shrugged. No evidence. No surveillance cameras in the yard either. Install an alarm, he advised. 3 days later, the mailbox lock was tampered with. Then someone broke a window in the entrance. Minor mischiefs, but annoying. It became clear that Carolina had declared a guerrilla war. Frank returned from his trip frightened. Mom called. She says you ruined her life. She ruined it herself when she decided to steal. She wants to meet, to reconcile. I don't want to see her. Gloria, maybe you should talk? She is family. To me, she's not family. She's a criminal. But the court hasn't passed judgment yet. Do you doubt her guilt? Frank remained silent. The next week, the mischief escalated. Someone slashed the tires on Gloria's car. Another time, they set fire to the doormat. Your mother is trying. You can't know that. I know for sure. No one else has any interest in getting back at me. Maybe you should talk to her? Explain that this is unacceptable? I'll explain through the police. But the police were again powerless. No trace of the perpetrator was found. Then Gloria decided to act differently. She hired a private detective, Lucas, a former police officer. I need proof that Carolina is orchestrating damage to my property. Or is she doing it herself? Most likely orchestrating. She's a coward herself. Understood. We'll observe. A week later, the detective presented a report. Carolina was indeed coordinating acts of vandalism. She hired local drunks and hooligans, paying them for minor mischiefs. I have a recording of her giving instructions. That's enough for court. Plenty. Gloria filed a new police report, this time with solid evidence. Carolina was summoned for questioning. Confronted with irrefutable facts, she tried to justify herself. It was revenge for humiliation. What humiliation? Asked the investigator. I was thrown out of the house like a dog. From someone else's house. Were you settled illegally? The house is joint, a family home. According to the documents, the house belongs to Gloria Torres. The investigator, an experienced man, quickly understood the situation and offered Carolina a deal. Admit to organizing acts of vandalism and receive a suspended sentence. Persist, and you'll get a real one. Her mother-in-law chose the suspended sentence. The trial took place a month later. Carolina received 1.5 years suspended and a large fine in favor of Gloria. She will no longer bother you, the judge said. Any violation of the sentence conditions will send her straight to prison. As Carolina left the courtroom, she cast a look at Gloria filled with hatred. I will never forgive you. You don't have to. The main thing is to stay away from my house. Frank walked beside her with his head down. He was ashamed of his mother, but Gloria felt no pity for him. At home, her husband tried to kneel again. Mika. Forgive Mom, she won't do it again. Your mother got what she deserved. But she's now a convicted person? Convicted, yes, but suspended. For real crimes. Maybe we should help her financially? The fine is big. You want to help the woman who tried to rob your wife? She is my mother. And I'm your wife. Choose your priorities. Frank chose his wife again, but Gloria saw it was a difficult choice for him. Life gradually returned to normal. Frank tiptoed around, afraid to speak unnecessarily. Carolina didn't call, but Gloria knew it was the calm before the storm. 6 months later, the lawyer reported that Carolina had moved to distant relatives in another city. Officially, for health reasons, in reality, out of shame. Maybe now we can live in peace? Frank asked timidly. We'll see, Gloria replied. She harbored no illusions. Her mother-in-law had just gone into hiding, waiting, and would eventually try to take revenge. Carolina was vindictive and resentful. And Frank? Frank remained a broken man. He feared his wife more than he had ever feared his mother. The family was formally intact, but at what cost? Peace reigned in the house, but it was the peace of a graveyard. Gloria had won the war, but lost her husband. The weak man who crawled on his knees and swore loyalty was no longer a man, but a domestic animal. Sometimes at night, she would lie in her mother's house and think about the future. Years lay ahead with a man she no longer respected, but the house was hers. The memory of her mother was protected. Justice had triumphed. That was enough to keep living.